Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dive Into Diet. I'm with the star of the show, Lucas Schmidt. Lucas, what's going on, man?
We need to talk. I'm just kidding.
I know. I told you.
Intervention.
I know. We need one. I have a feeling this episode.
A lot of people probably need this.
It's going to have like withdrawals.
Maybe. Sounds like we're using lingo associated with something. Addiction. That's it.
Yep.
Sugar addiction is what we're going to talk about. I'm not qualified to talk about drug addiction. But I can talk about sugar addiction. It behaves very similarly.
And I'm sure I got it.
Any addiction does. But there's a cycle I want to talk. Sugar addiction cycle is what I want to talk about.
Okay.
It's pretty short, but I wrote notes just in case. I don't want to miss anything.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you what the cycle is, and we're going to discuss the impact, etc. So the sugar addiction cycle would be you eat the sugar, whatever that is.
Step one.
Step one, eat sugar. If you want to fall into this cycle, do the following. Eat sugar. 2, your blood sugar spikes, and you'll get a dopamine high. Ooh, you feel great. Oh, boy, that's delicious. That's also probably comes with the flavor, right? It's not just the blood sugar spiking. It's the whole bit. The whole, that Hershey bar. Anyway, you get a little bit of a dopamine hit, a little high from it. You feel happy for a little bit. Then, as a reaction to that elevated sugar, insulin is released. Why? Well, it has to shuttle the sugar into the cell. So what happens? That insulin, because you had a huge spike very quickly, you'll have probably a big insulin response. The insulin response drives the sugar down below normal level, generally, not always, but generally. As a result, you now feel hungry, potentially agitated. And what do we do, as the Snickers commercial says? Feeling hungry or angry, have a Snickers. So we complete the last step, which is also the first step, which is to then eat a Snickers or insert sugary thing, and the cycle repeats. Sugar addiction cycle. It's a very short cycle.
But we eat so easy.
We eat the sugar. We feel great. We get high blood sugar. We have an insulin response. Oh, also insulin signals fat storage, by the way. Our blood sugar lowers. We eat again. I guess there's 4. It's a circle.
Yep.
A little circle. Or this way. I don't know. So what does this mean?
Yep.
This means it's easy to get stuck eating junk food and
because you can't stop.
And instant reward foods, I guess you could call them. You get a pleasant feeling immediately while it's in your mouth is pretty much the best part. Like it's you're enjoying that taste. You do get a pleasant euphoric sensation. But the problem too with this cycle is it spins faster because, as with anything that people get addicted to, the dopamine release is a little bit less the next time you do it. In order to match the previous dopamine release, you have to increase whatever you did to get it.
Yep.
This applies to a lot of things like video games. People don't realize that video games, TV, social media, any of that, you get a little bit of that was fun. Oh, somebody liked my post. Let me post something else.
Right.
Only 5 people liked it this time. Oh, but 10 on this. You got to increase your dose to get the same response. So this cycle goes, gets faster and faster. Why is this a problem in sugar world? Well, the overconsumption of sugar, eventually, not everybody. Some people are just genetically blessed to burn through it.
Yep.
But eventually can lead to insulin resistance if we're eating too much sugar, weight gain, excessive weight gain. These all kind of work together to hurt you. Excessive weight gain, insulin resistance, which eventually could lead to type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And then type 2 diabetes leads in later life to a number of health problems. I'm not the doctor here. Dr. Rogers and Andy have talked about this a lot, the impact of diabetes in your body. But it will impede performance. It will impede, and I don't mean like just in exercise. I mean everywhere.
Yeah.
Irritability is common. There's a long list of lifestyle inhibitors that come with a sugar addiction. Okay, but even if you don't have any of those medical problems now, a sugar addiction can leave you sluggish in the day because your sugar drops. Sort of like a roller coaster would be the description. I guess I've heard a lot.
Yep.
I have energy for a little bit, and then I crash, and then I'm excitable, and I crash, or I just crash and stay crashed. Irritability is common too. if you're hangry.
It's a real thing.
I mean, the whole Snickers commercial is playing on that. I'm not
Yep.
saying they're an evil addiction pushing. That's not. I don't think they all got together like a cabal and decided how can we make everyone miserable. No, they're thinking how can we sell as many Snickers as possible. They're a business, but it is kind of ironic that the commercial has the old. Remember those old commercials? They had a celebrity they get a funny celebrity who's funny when they're angry. I think Joe Pesci was one.
Yeah.
Which I love Joe Pesci. He's hilarious, but he's good at being angry on film. They get him to and then they give him a Snickers, and now they're like a regular person.
Yeah,
okay.
I remember that.
But that is a symptom of sugar addiction. Is when you're angry. I'm not myself today. Why? I'm so snippy all the time. I haven't eaten in a while. Let me eat something. Now I feel better. 20 minutes later. Well, dang it. So there are health impacts. There are in the short term, even if you're not suffering from chronic insulin resistance or metabolic disease, as they call it. I'm just checking. So you don't want any of this because the long-term, I've already mentioned the long-term health, not benefits, the opposite. What's the opposite? Detriment. I need a Snickers. It'll help me focus.
The health detriments.
Right? So there are foods we can eat that can, I guess, break the cycle of addiction. That sounds very dramatic.
Let's break the cycle. How do we do it?
Let me just put it this way. I know we're being kind of funny. I like to keep a lighthearted tone to our podcast. I think it's easier to watch them. If I was dreary sitting here giving you the bad news all the time, I don't know if you'd come back. Maybe you won't anyway, but I think we have a better chance of getting you this information. But it is not something to take lightly. If you legitimately, now I don't want you to be over dramatic. I don't want you to have a candy bar and think you're addicted to sugar. Typically, an addiction like this does govern your behavior. So addictions, if they're strong, govern behavior. They will drive your behavior to a point, in a sense where you're almost not in control of yourself. That doesn't mean you're incapable of not eating that. What it means is you're uncomfortable until you eat it. It's like you'll get headaches, you'll get irritable, like what you've already described. That can be a sign of addictive behavior. I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist. You really want to check that? Make an appointment with one, a therapist or a social worker or a psychiatrist, psychologist. They can help you figure that out for a clinical purpose. But if you suspect you are, the things to do in the short term would be, if you feel hungry, try to eat something like protein. Something that's higher in protein. That's usually my first macro that I try to go for.
More than fat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more satiating, I guess, in the short term.
Okay.
And if you're exercising, you're going to use it.
Yeah.
You're going to use it to build. You need it anyway, but it's just a really nice macro to eat. So
any good sources of protein you like
for convenience? Let's start with that's the most important thing for a lot of busy people. Again, and also sugar is typically very convenient. Comes packaged. You can keep bags of Swedish fish in your purse.
Yes.
Swedish fish are really good.
They're so good.
It's kind of an obscure candy. How specific? It's almost like I like that candy. or used to have a problem with it. Swedish fish, don't eat those. You'll get trapped.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a reason it's easy to fall in this addiction too. Is it's the convenience. You're addicted. I don't need the notes anymore. You're addicted to the convenience. Protein, probably off the top of my head, a fast, convenient source would be like Greek yogurt.
Okay.
I mean, it's perishable, so you do need a fridge, but you're at home, you want a quick snack. Get some plain. You can put liquid monk fruit drops, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Substitutions for that sweet taste that don't impact your blood sugar. But yeah, that's a protein-rich source. If you can tolerate dairy, it's great. Preferably plain. You can do low or full fat as long as the low fat doesn't have other stuff to compensate. I'm really after the protein in the short term. Okay. Right now, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on that. If you're concerned, you want to be really diligent, you can boil a bunch of eggs in advance before a busy week. They keep a while.
Yeah.
Keep them, take them, put them in the fridge at work. I'm feeling peckish. Let me have some boiled eggs. Kind of a boring snack, but I like them. They're very nutrient dense. Good source of protein.
Yeah.
You can always offer a protein shake, I guess. They make some tasty ones. Sun Warrior is a plant-based one that it's really nice. Usually digests pretty easily, and it's pretty affordable. You can get it on Amazon. Those are convenient sources. Healthy sources would be like fish, nuts. Nuts and seeds are convenient. You can eat a handful of those. Meat is a good source of protein as long as the animal's like healthy. I've mentioned that before, like grass-fed beef if you're gonna have beef. But fish is really a really well-rounded source of protein. It's just the issue with that is you have to prepare it. Right. Unless you like smoked salmon, it's not cooked. Oh, I can't bring myself to do that. Canned fish is fine as long as just look at what's added to it. You want this like canned in water and salt, right? Canned tuna, canned salmon, wild caught ideally, but those are convenient. Smelly but convenient. But yeah, that's my first go-to is just opt for some protein. The other thing is that's not going to solve the taste problem though. That people that's what you're hooked on. Okay.
Right.
On Amazon they sell liquid monk fruit. You can buy it in powder form in the grocery store, but it has erythritol, and that's fine. It's a sugar alcohol. It's natural-ish. But too much of that can cause some diarrhea and cramping. So, monk fruit, liquid monk fruit it's a natural source of sweet taste. It's like 300% sweeter than sugar per weight by weight. The liquid form, I say that because it's very convenient. It's a little dropper bottle, yay big, typically $13 to $25, and it's like 300 servings. Very concentrated, a few drops. So say a lot of people who are addicted to sugar, a big reason is if beverages. They like to go through Pals, shout out to Pals, and get a big tea.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, they're so good. Get it unsweet, buy some monk fruit, 3 to 4 drops, maybe 5 because that's a big tea. Stir it up a little bit. Monk fruit doesn't have the aftertaste that stevia has. I like stevia. I don't mind the aftertaste, but a lot of people do. Monk fruit doesn't seem to have that taste. It just tastes sweet. So that's a great quick substitute. You can't bake with it. You wanna if your weakness for sugar, if you're addicted to sugar and you make brownies and stuff, it's hard to find a no sugar substitute. There is one. It's a little pricey, but it does work. It caramelizes just like sugar. I think I've mentioned it before. Allulose. It's a natural sugar alcohol. It occurs in trace amounts. So most plants that contain sugar, it's like a pie chart. They contain 60% this kind, 70% that kind. Well, you can get 60 and 70s over hundreds, but you're not here for the math. You're here for other things. But a percentage is usually allulose. It's like 3 to 5%. So that's why it's expensive. To extract, you got to go through a lot of plants to get the same amount. But it is a 1-to-1 substitute for sugar when you're baking. It's pretty cool. Again, it is an alcohol, so mind your serving size, lest you get diarrhea. I've learned that the hard way. But it is really tasty. I made caramel with it. It browns just like sugar. So allulose, shout out to you. You can get it on Amazon, probably some specialty grocery
We'll also
stores.
post that healthy sweetener video in the description.
But the real way to break that is you can try with the willpower thing where you just resist, but it usually doesn't work long term. You got to find a way to still eat and get something you enjoy, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
So you're not just sitting there staring and having nothing.
Right.
I don't want you to overeat, of course, but we're talking about short term. How do we get out of this?
How do we stop?
There's got to be a step one. Step one is make yourself eat. Set a quota for protein in the day, at least 50 grams or something like that.
And that's the game.
I got to get to that 50 grams by the end of this day. Then I can have stuff. Right? You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
The alternative, too, is if your weakness is something like a beverage, you can try to substitute. If it might just be a taste thing for you. And if that's it, great. That would be a fine way. Monk fruit, stevia works. Erythritol's fine. Allulose is an expensive but adequate substitute. Those would be my go-to sweet substitutes.
Yeah.
So, and the alternative to a good stepping stone too is if it's candy, go for fruit. Now that's still sugar. It's a better form. You're getting some fiber in there. Going to lower the glycemic spike. But at least you're getting some micronutrients, right? We want to find a way to downgrade the negative impact that works for you. And fruit is convenient. Fruit travels well. Apples, bananas, they are high in sugar, but it's a much better.
It's better.
You're getting something for that sugar, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do is make a plan. Pick something you know you can do really easy. buy some monk fruit. You buy that once every 8 months.
Right.
Put that, if it's tea for you, if it's soda, buy some carbonated, bubbly. It's got a flavor in it. Put some monk fruit in it. Now you got a sweet soda again.
Yep.
So find a way to downgrade the impact, and then just work your way through.
Yeah.
But protein, any of those would be adequate substitutions. So
I love this. This is such an important episode.
yeah. A lot of
'Cause
people
it-
don't know that they're addicted, and they definitely are
Yeah.
to sugar.
Yeah. Lucas, sugar addiction.
All right.
We're breaking the cycle.
Break it.
Guys, break the cycle. We'll post that video on the healthy sweeteners down below in the description. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. Lucas, I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Don't go away.